Thank you for inviting me to speak. I want to talk today about some of the lessons that I've taken from working on a large, interdisciplinary and highly collaborative project and its transition to online working, in order to reflect on whether we are collaborating virtually or virtually collaborating. We were asked to reflect on whether historians and archivists should collaborate and what they need to do this. So from this slide, which is about my current project, you can see why my answer to the first part of that question is a resounding yes. And I also suggest you throw a bunch of data scientists into the mix. So I'm currently working on Living Machines, which brings together historians, data scientists and research software engineers, curators and library professionals, computational linguists, literary historians, digital humanists, and a specialist in visualization. But what about the second half of that question? What do you need to build a collaboration out of these disparate parts, out of these individuals? I believe this can be achieved by some of these principles, that we should see the team as a meeting of equals that recognizes the complementary skills of all of the individuals and sectors represented. Or put another way, no individual or group should be in service of another. And I think this can be achieved by designing projects and project questions that explore the productive spaces at the intersections of those disciplines and practices. In other words, something that is greater than the sum of those disciplinary parts. But it should also be designed in a way that speaks back to the needs of those home disciplines and professions in order to persuade them of the value of this kind of collaborative work. So what does that look like? So these are the aims of Living with Machines. Living with Machines is a data-driven history project that contends that the untapped depth of the digital archives means that there is still much that we can learn about the human, social, and cultural consequences of the coming of the machine age in the long 19th century. So within that, we aim to facilitate new historical findings about the effects of mechanization on the lives of ordinary people, to provide computational means of marshalling at scale the UK's growing number of digitized historical texts and documents, to develop innovative computational models, tools, code, and infrastructure that will be transferable to other research projects, and to undertake all of this in an experiment in radical collaboration. So to achieve the above, we have to combine knowledge from those respective fields. And that collaboration means humanities scholars on the team working in ways that are altogether alien to them in some cases. Similarly, many of our data scientists have never worked with humanities or cultural heritage data and all of the complexity that comes with that. And while archivists are used to working in collaborative environments, the outcome expected by their colleagues can look very different from what looks like success, for example, to a data scientist or a historian. So how does one go about reconciling those different needs and expectations of what success looks like and those very radically different ways of working? So one response is the development of a project charter. Increasing numbers of people are using project charters, and we can see great examples of that practice from the Scholars Lab, from the Coloured Conventions Project, and we personally used the Stan Rucker and Milena Radzajska project charter as a model for our own. And the idea of a charter is to create a shared vision so that people know what they're signing up for, and it lists a set of informal policies or values that we can commit to abiding by. But we also wanted to commit to revising and revisiting those when necessary. So at the beginning of our project, for example, I and the co-authors in the project wrote a first version for the purposes of hiring, which we then revised once the full team were on board, and we're committed to iterating to meet the changing needs. So one question, can a charter ensure our working practice is inclusive of people from different demographics, career stages and sectors? I think it can help us do that, or at least become aware, self-aware about that. So I'm sharing here some of the key headings, but we can see the full set of values and aims on our blog post on our website if you want to follow up on that. So we're interested in disseminating the results of this project as widely and openly as possible, with credit to us for doing so. Our policies around credit should balance both generosity and meaningfulness. So we believe that all different kinds of labour that go into creating outputs on our project should be transparently credited in a way that contributes to people's CVs. But we need to balance that with the different expectations that come with different fields. So long author lists might be more common in computational sciences, but there is a lone scholar model in history. So we want to make sure that we give people what they need for their CVs while also gently challenging some of those norms. It's very important to us that we're not undertaking experiments with people's careers. So an example of how we did this is from an early paper on the project called Living Machines, a study of atypical animacy. So in this case, we're seeking to make fully transparent all the roles in the project, from the initial conceptualization through to the historical analysis, the writing and editing. All of those parts are made really clear in what we think of our film style credits that you can see here. We're developing here something known as the credit taxonomy, which you can read about in the link on the screen. And one of our team members, Fede Nane, did a really nice blog post about it, which you can read about if you follow this link. While we can't use this kind of long form of credit in traditional journal venues, we can make sure to deposit a preprint version with a cover sheet like this, so that people can really understand what the role of each person involved was. And the process of deciding authors for this paper really helped us develop a decision tree, a set of guidelines on deciding authors for outputs, which we're going to be sharing in another project output, which is a book about collaboration. The Charter also, I think, helps us engage with the ethical implications of the current and future ways of working. So one of the values we had in our original version, which I've listed here, was we value meeting in person where at all possible, and meeting regularly in order to build community, shared understanding and expertise. So this sounds really funny in light of recent months, but it actually gave us a stock of shared understanding, community and goodwill that really helped us in that moment of transition from working in person to going entirely online. But going forward, we can't rely on that as an automatic mode of community building, at least right now. So how else can we ensure an effective team is built? So the other two values here, I think, are actually really important. So we intend this work to move forward at a steady pace, given due awareness of the vagaries of life. So for us, that involved a commitment to attending meetings and keeping regular contact, and the use of sprint review and planning meetings. So using a very sort of light touch version of agile management to establish and meet fortnightly goals. And where blocks on work occurred or progress is not made, we committed to exploring and solving those problems in the spirit of collaboration. The second one is we acknowledge that this project will require an organizational effort due to its scale and ambitions. And essentially, this is what I think of as one of the key necessities of distributed working, and that is document, document, and document again. Not only does it help a team communicate, you will thank your past self for doing this. But it's not all about being effective, though. I want to leave on my final slide these values for collaborating. We have a lot of subheadings under these, which you can read more about on our blog post, but these are the ones I wanted to pull out for you. So we wish to communicate in such a way as to preserve professional dignity and sanity. So to do that, we strive to maintain a tone of mutual respect whenever we meet online or write, and to forgive lapses if they occur. If the practices, values, or traditions of our disciplines come into tension, we commit to positive communication and to remaining self-aware of our own actions. And there have been tensions because of our sort of assumptions of our disciplines, but I think this is a really important one to keep in mind and keep revisiting. We also want to foster goodwill amongst all the participants. So a really practical way of doing this is in making financial decisions. So we wanted to attempt to allocate resources in ways that indicate commitment to every person on our team. We also encourage questions and experimentation. So we value knowledge and experience, but we also value the potential opportunities that derive from doing things differently. And in that spirit, I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much for listening.